I'm waiting for him to get centered on my beautiful face. I thought I'd get more laughs with that one. You mean I should be doing that then? Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I hope everybody got themselves all fed up. I know I did. Like I said, they'll be putting the leftover pierogies into takeaway containers, and for a donation, you can take some home and you can have them for lunch tomorrow or the next day. Or if you take enough of them home, you might not have to cook for the rest of the month. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. Your emergency exits are to the side and to the rear, and every time I do that, I feel like a flight attendant. And the bathrooms are just out in the hallway there. There'll be actually 5 speakers tonight, and then a round of question and answers. I ask that you hold your questions until all the speakers have been through. And we spend more time on the question and answers than we do on the speeches. So I've already told each speaker to cut her down even more to about 8 minutes. And believe me, if you see me at the back going, they've gone way long. But our very first speaker is from this area. He is a cartoonist, a comedian, a songwriter. What other flowery things can I say about you? Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ben Crane.
Well, thank you. And how in the world are you, neighbor? That sounds good. Hey, I really appreciate you guys coming out here tonight. I'm just going to undo this because I know one of us is going to start walking, and it'll probably be me. We've specifically designed these evenings. We've been doing this for several months now, and we're planning on doing this right up through October. And we specifically designed these town halls to be a place where your voice can be heard and your own opinion, and we can have civil discourse. We actually invite people with differing opinions to come on out, and I love the idea of just being able to talk about it instead of throwing mud at each other. That's just crazy. So we do want to talk, so we want to thank you guys so much for coming out, even the people I know. I love this. I feel like y'all are neighbors, so I appreciate. And at these gatherings, I have been speaking on faith, family, and freedom, and the foundational values that have gone and our attachment to the land and all that kind of stuff. You've seen our grandkids were here; they're headed home. They are 6th generation on the family farm, and we have a close connection to the land. And I know that's Alberta to us. And all these are values that I believe Alberta, by and large, has always stood for. But another basic building block just hit me the other day. They've been tickling both of my brain cells. I got one on each side, and they actually synapsed and sparked, and there's some smoke and a bang, and I had a thought. Identity. That's what I want to talk about tonight. We're all designed right from the start to identify with something that's much bigger than us. We join clubs of common interest. We root for the Flames. There we go. We just naturally look for something to be a part of, a tribe. That's an identity. When I was born, way back in the 1900s, I was given a name of my own. And then I was given the family name. I joined the Crane clan. We moved to Alberta when I was 2, and we joined a nation that was much larger than our family. And at that point, Canada became our new identity. It was a country that was revered and respected worldwide. It was a huge part in the force in the freeing of Europe in the Second War. We visited Dominica, a little Caribbean island, a few years back, and when they found out that we were Canadians, they said, "Oh, we love Canada." They said, "You guys built hospitals and schools for us when we were devastated by a hurricane a few generations back." We had an identity as Canada. But about a half a century back, the leaders of Canada started changing that. I got to read half of this because, I just wrote it. I haven't mesmerized it yet. They decided, those new leaders decided that we are now a multicultural country. And that sounds really good at first. Sounds like very inclusive. But what it really means is that we don't have our own identity. We are instead a conglomeration of many other identities. So when you immigrate here, you didn't become Canadian. We had little, you retain all your cultural heritage from the place you just came from, both good and bad. So we had pockets of this and pockets of that, but nothing Canadian. Fast forward to the last couple decades, and we see mass immigration forced upon the provinces from Alberta or from Ottawa, with the intention, according to documents obtained by Juno News, to salt conservative voting areas with liberal voters. Give the people everything and they'll vote for you. We'll erase our old identity. Ottawa has also aligned itself with global governance. Gotta love that. And our PM's famous New World Order, which ironically, I laugh at this every time because that is in direct opposition to his big talk of Canada as a strong sovereign nation. It's just you don't have that if you're in a global deal here. I think that's kind of funny. And global single world governance ideology states that borders are the cause of human strife. Get rid of these pesky borders, you get rid of the strife, everybody suddenly is just loving each other. It's utopia. But I suggest the opposite. Being human is the cause of the problem with human strife. And borders protect us from one group of people invading and obliterating another that holds different opinions. Borders help protect our identity, but also helps us to respect those who have a different identity. Getting the idea here that identity is actually a big thing. Ottawa has also signaled its intention to sever ties with the U.S., our largest trading partner and ally, and whom we share the longest unprotected border in the entire world, in favor of a cozy relationship and alignment with communist China. It's openly adopted woke ideologies and the climate change catastrophe agenda. In short, Ottawa has completely canceled its historic identity. It's changed it right underneath of us. And Eastern Canadian voters have consistently agreed with this direction by continuing to vote them into office, while us Western voters have absolutely no say west of the Ontario border. They have intentionally changed our identity, and they made it very clear that this is the direction they are hurtling towards, full throttle, full intention. Now, this is the part that really kind of has me baffled. It's the opposition to Alberta independence by conservative voters, our neighbors, our friends, our family. It really has me baffled, but because it appears to me that we actually have the same goals, by and large. We want to be proud of our country. We want to honor the vets who have given their lives for the freedom and the values in the identity that we have. We want to have a safe place to live and raise our children the way we want to raise them. We want to be free to be ourselves and to thrive. I love that word. It's totally opposite from survive. Thrive means, man, you are just given in there with everything you got without being controlled and censored. We want to be free to hold and to voice our own opinions and practice our own faith. We want our vote to actually count. We want a fiscally responsible small government with that pesky little thing called moral integrity. We share so many goals, even though we disagree on how to achieve them. And we have to realize that unity is not sameness. Those are two different things. Unity is actually making the intentional decision to work together towards those goals in spite of and even embracing our differences. So my question to you, my fine feathered friends, what kind of a country do you want? That's something we have to think about. Do you really want the direction that Ottawa has been taking us for a good half a century, and specifically the past decade? Or do you want to retain the culture and the core values and beliefs and identity that Alberta was founded upon more than a century ago? And that's what I'm fighting for my family, my kids, my grandkids, my neighbors, for you. For the very first time in the history of our province, all the way back to 1905, we will have a say in how a new country of Alberta will run, free from the control of a hostile federal government. The referendum will afford us the privilege of having a direct say in how we want to be governed. This is hope. This is something to look forward to. And I think this may be the only time we have a chance to do this. We need a new border to protect our identity and help us respect the others without feeling that it's forced upon us. That is, to respect Canada's culture and people, let them have it, is different from us without Western Canada being forced to conform to that. That's what it's all about, is respect. So I say let's build a country that honors family and faith and freedom. And the only way to accomplish that, I have looked and studied. The only way I can see to accomplish that is to separate from Canada. That way we can become respectful business partners and friends and still maintain who we are. It's our identity. They changed identity. We haven't. The only way to predict your future, folks, is to write it. So I'd say let's grab a pen and take back our identity. Well, thank you. I feel kind of funny being a part of this outfit because we got guys with really big brains. I have 2 cells. I told you about them already. And all I know is art and music. And we got constitutional lawyers. We've got people who've been in politics their entire life. They were born in it. We've got all kinds of people and me. But maybe I can represent you, the common man. Maybe I can be the Merle Haggard of the unit. When they asked me to join Shane, who the fella is up here, he's our boss. And he's the one who told me, he says, well, you can just write a song. That's all you got to do. Yeah, right. But I went home and I could not get that idea out of my head. So I wrote a song. And he asked me to be singing that. And then a couple of weeks later, there was a different one after I was doing a whole lot more studying and checking out the history of where we come from. So I had the first one here is called My Alberta Roots Run Deep. And I hope you like that one. Can I have some monitor, please, Max? The only life I know goes back 100 years, steeped in deep tradition, blood and sweat and tears. The value of hard work, common sense, hope and truth, family and freedom, the value of our youth. What makes me want to hold on, what I know is right, and in the face of opposition, stand my ground and fight. My Alberta roots run deep in my blood, in my bones, they get stronger every day. When somebody tries to move in, take it all away. I just draw a line there in the sand, stand my ground and say, my Alberta roots run deep. Living on the land, watching life come and go, working hard and playing hard, sunshine and in snow. We don't really ask for much, 'cause we know that God provides, and has given us all the tools we need to enjoy this life and thrive. So what makes us want to hold on to what we know is right, and in the face of opposition, stand my ground and fight. My Alberta roots run deep in my blood, in my bones, they get stronger every day. And when somebody tries to move in, take it all away, I just draw a line there in the sand, stand my ground and say, my Alberta roots, you can't hide them, they define them. They made us who we are today, and when life's this good, you just don't throw it away. It's my Alberta roots run deep. You can't dig them up or pull them out. They grow deeper every day. And when somebody tries to move in, tear it all away, I just draw a line there in the sand, stand my ground and say, my Alberta roots run deep, run deep. Well, thank you so much. I already sung it. Here's the next one here. No, we didn't ask to be brought here back in 1905. We was just fine, spending our time to mind our own business and thrive. But the East had different ideas. We was too good a deal to pass up. They saw what we had and they wanted it bad, so they signed us up there on the spot. They said, we'll call you Alberta, land of big sky and big dreams. You do the work, we'll take the pay. That makes us the ultimate team. Well, we realized that we was the peasant. This arrangement just couldn't go far. They said, you feed the cow, we may allow you to take a small sip from the jar. Things just got worse as the time flew. The feds kept us stomping our necks. They take all our pay, keep our assets at bay. The whole thing's become a big wreck. Say goodbye to old Alberta. So much for all of our dreams. We're told what to think. Election day stinks. They're giving up all of our dreams. So we've had it, we're rattled. Just want to move on and take back what's ours from the start. We ride a new horse and we chart a new course. Thank God we'll be finally free. Raise a glass to old Alberta, land of big sky and big dreams. We're finally free to be who we should be and rid of the liberal schemes. Yeah! So let's break the chains and be free again. Thank God that we're finally free. Oh. Well, I really appreciate that a whole bunch. It's straight from the heart. We got the next guy coming up here. This guy's no stranger to us. We've been really enjoying getting to know him. He's started out as a city feller, but we brung him out into the country. He was a mayoral candidate for Calgary, actually, and he just loves Alberta with everything he's got. Ladies and gentlemen, would you put your hands together for Zane Novak?
Thank you, Ben. And also, you can go to, thank you, Max. Ben Crane, that's, oh, yeah. Missed a spot. Is all 6 of my hairs okay? Remaining hairs. Yeah, you can go to bencrane.com. You can, it costs a couple bucks, but you can download those songs. You can play them, support him, get them to go viral. Let's get more playtime. And thank you again, Ben, for doing an amazing job. The ironic thing is I'm not really an urban person. I was born in Lloydminster, grew up in rural Saskatchewan, lived many places, but I did live in Calgary for quite some time and got involved very much with the community, a lot of charity work, sat in a lot of boards of fair-sized charitable groups, and that brought me into contact with municipal politics, provincial politics, federal politics, and it disgusted me. And that's what got me motivated to try to do something. So yes, I did run for mayor in 2021, and I could write books about that. And I loved Canada. I've lived many places in the States. I've lived in Mexico. And every place I went, I always appreciated it for what it was, because it's people's homes, and they have different traditions and different values, but they're unique and amazing in their own ways. But I was always so happy to come back to Canada, because I always thought Canada was the best. But it's not the Canada that I was born into. It's changed. It's changed dramatically from when I was a young man growing up in this country, where there was opportunity, where there was some freedom. We had a lot of really positive things to what it is now. And like Ben mentioned, you know, on October 19th when we vote, if you vote against separating, it's just a vote based on nostalgia of a country that will never come back to the way it was. We've passed the fulcrum point, and I often say that Canada has become a failed state. And it hurts me to say that, because I was such a devoted Canadian for so long. When I traveled all over the world, I always wore a flag, a little flag, so people wouldn't mistake me as the ugly American tourist, because we had a good reputation. But we've passed the fulcrum point. You can look at our economics. Our GDP per capita, you know, is, especially in growth in the last 10 years, it's like the lowest of the G20. If they're reformulating the G7, the G20, we probably wouldn't even qualify to participate. You look at, you know, we used to laugh about places like Alabama and Georgia. Well, the Canadian GDP is about $60,000 per person. Alabama is like 72,000. Georgia's 82,000. Alberta leads the way in all of Canada at 79,000. And then Saskatchewan, BC, and all the rest are in the negatives. It's really the West that's, as per usual, pulling more of their weight than anyone else. We can look at our unemployment numbers. Youth unemployment in many areas in Canada, it's 20%. But yet, guess what? We have a temporary foreign worker program. So the current government in Alberta, the UCP, they did a dive into that, what the numbers were for 2024. What temporary foreign workers brought into our economy and what they took out, what it cost us. Well, temporary foreign workers in 2024 did over 35,000 doctor and hospital visits. That cost us $400 million. There are over 45,000 children in public school systems from temporary foreign workers, and obviously their first language isn't English. There's over 45,000. That has cost us $600 million. There's another $100 million that goes directly towards supporting daycare for them, other social services. That's over $1 billion. It's $1.1 billion. But what did the numbers show that it brought in? $150 million. I mean, we're out of pocket $850 million. Am I like that electric that I'm lighting this room up and dimming it? So, I mean, that's just one of the things. You can look at our healthcare. Oh, we're really getting fancy now. You can look at our healthcare. I mean, our wait times have become unbelievable. If you go to a hospital, a city hospital, it's days. In Edmonton, just a few days ago, another person died in the waiting room in a hospital. This isn't the things that we used to have. That's not how it used to be. I moved out of Calgary to Sundre. It took me 3 years to get a doctor. And I never go, but I need it for my medical, for my driver's license and that. Unbelievable that you can live in this Western Canada for 60-some years and you can't even get a doctor to sign off on your medical for your Class 1. What are our children facing if that's how we're feeling it? You know, most of us are in my age demographic, late 30s. And we already, most of us, you know, we've kind of built ourselves a secure life, our home and everything. What about our future generations? That's why I'm up here. I'm not up here for myself. I'm up here for my children. When we see things like our military, you know, there's been in the news a lot lately about our military. Do you know that there are over 10,000 more registered real estate agents in the Greater Toronto area than there are in the entire employment of the Canadian National Defence, including Army, Navy, and Air Force? There's about 75,000 real estate agents in Toronto, and there's about 61,000 members of the military, including clerks, mechanics, cooks, pilots, janitors. We can't defend ourselves. We can't look after ourselves. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, Carney announced that he was giving $40 million to Lebanon to rebuild, $120 million to Sudan, and at the exact same time, the exact same week, he made an announcement to all of the deployed troops, Canadian troops all over the world, that their monthly live-away allowance dropped from $2,500 to $1,500. We're a failed state. And then you think, well, you know, here, we can fix this. We can fix this from the inside. But that's been a bit of the problem with Alberta from day one. I was very involved in the oil and gas industry, and I was always trying to bring new technologies in, you know, to help with the environment, but to help with profitability and all of that. And I was downtown Calgary all the time dealing with engineers and everything. And I've always said for the last 25 years, there should be a sign when you come into Alberta. Welcome to Alberta. We've always done it this way. And that's how we've been. We've been apathetic. You know, we've been in this since 1905. And by the way, we and Saskatchewan are the only two provinces that didn't get to negotiate our way into the Confederation. We were annexed. It was just told to us, you're now in. And in fact, our first premiers were appointed by Ottawa. Liberal Ottawa appointed our first premiers. We didn't get to vote them in. And what have we done as Albertans? Whenever we get taken up the tailpipe from Ottawa, what do? We just go, well, we'll just work harder. And this is where we are, apathy. We just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Well, this is our one chance in a lifetime to do something different and to make a difference. This will never come around to us again. Things have lined up now. You can see the corruption in Ottawa. It's always been there, but now it's just exploded. We finally have an ally to the south who supports this. And if anybody wants to talk about the 51st state, when we do the question and answer period, I'd love to talk about that because that's not an option. We're not going to be the 51st state of the U.S. But we do need a strong ally. There is going to be a referendum question on the 19th, and it'll be clearer tomorrow because lots was said in the ledge today about it. We'll have probably a clearer definition tomorrow of exactly what that'll look like. But just keep in mind, I'm actually going to take 2 more minutes because everything I've talked about is pretty negative, right? And we see that every day. In fact, I don't even like scrolling on my phone anymore. But imagine when we separate, the benefits that we will have. You know, we won't have the $23 to $27 billion a year transfer payment. And Tanya Clements does an amazing job of describing that. It works out to about $6,000 for every man, woman, and child in this province. And if you were to pay that out in $20 bills, it would fill about 58 sea cans of $20 bills. That's just a transfer payment. What about what we overpay in federal income tax? We have the highest median income of any place in Canada. Well, we're usually $20 billion that goes to Ottawa and doesn't come back. Some comes back. Education, health benefits, always has strings attached to it, mind you, when it comes back from the feds. But there's about $20 billion that doesn't come back. Then look at our CPP. We hear all these horror stories. Oh, people are so scared if we separate or get our own pension plan, they're going to lose their Canadian pension plan, on and on. Those are all fallacies. They cannot take it away from you. That is yours. That is constitutional. Same with citizenship. Same with passport. Carney has 3 or 4. They cannot attack any of those. We can build our own. And in fact, to talk about the Canadian pension plan, when it was being drawn up, Ontario was the one that was hesitant to sign because they felt they were the big economic engine of Canada, and they thought they would be paying the biggest bill. So the only way they would sign off on CPP is if there was a clause in there that said any province at any point in time can withdraw from CPP as long as they can. I can't remember if it's in 12 months or 24 months, they have to create their own pension plan that equals or betters CPP because they want to protect the residents, which is a logical thing. That's a good safeguard. And the other clause was if that province, because Ontario's thinking of themselves, has overpaid, they get to claw back their total overpayment with accrued interest. Well, guess who paid the bill? Alberta. So as of a year ago, our overpayment was about $331 billion. With interest, that's over $400 billion. Huge negotiating stake for us when we separate. Right now, as of today, we typically collect about $9 to $10 billion CPP deductions, but we only get paid $6 billion back. So right now, every year, we're paying 150%. So just with that alone, think how much more we could benefit our seniors or start to build our own war chest. Quebec, they never signed on to it. They did their own, and they have a war fund of about $500 billion that pays to 2.2 million people. Canadian pension plan, we have about $700 million in reserves. The service is 6.6 million people. So we'd be so much better off. There are so many other things. We can talk about the fact that we overpay into unemployment insurance, our transfer payments, our education, all these different things that when we are separated, we will just have such greater, vastly greater wealth than what we have right now. But just remember, October 19th, the stars will never line up again as well as they do right now for us to make this decision about our future. Okay, that's enough out of me. Vicky Bayford, which I think probably everybody knows because she's been so involved in the political scene for years. Vicky, come on up, please.
I'll just, there we go. I'm a little shorter than everybody else. So, yeah, my name is Vicky Bayford. I've been involved with the independence movement, I guess, since about 2020. And it's just, I've just never stopped. I kind of one day decided that this was the only path that we could take. But you know, I've been through lots of ups and downs in this movement. I've worked with lots of different people across this province trying to forward this really important initiative. And so today I'm going to kind of change it up a bit. I'm not going to go all political on you today. So I had to write something down here. Usually I kind of freelance it, but today I just wanted to give you guys a really solid message, because one of the things that I'm seeing now is, you know, we've gotten this far. We got the petition done, regardless whether it was canceled out or whatever. We still did it. I bet you lots of people. How many people in this room actually were canvassers? Yeah. So, you know, I mean, countless hours were put in by Albertans, and it does matter. And I so appreciate and put my hat off for all of you people, because you guys are really my heroes. So right now, yes, thank you. So across Alberta, people in the independence movement come from very different backgrounds. We're ranchers, tradespeople, business owners, Indigenous communities, newcomers, parents, students, seniors, conservatives, libertarians, people of faith, and people who simply feel unheard. Yet movements fracture when people begin seeing labels before they see each other. Tonight, like I said, I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about people. Because before there's a movement, before there is a referendum, before there is legislation, before there is even a constitution, there are human beings. And somewhere along the way, we have forgotten how to see each other that way. We live in a time where labels have become more important than character. People are sorted into categories before they can even speak. Conservative, progressive, rural, urban, vaccinated, unvaccinated, Christian, atheist, oil worker, environmental activist, native-born, or an immigrant. And once those labels are attached, too many people stop listening. We assume motives, we assume beliefs, and we assume enemies. But movements do not survive on assumptions. They only survive on trust. And trust only exists when people feel seen, heard, respected, and valued. If Alberta is ever going to build something meaningful, and especially a new independent Republic of Alberta, we cannot build it by turning Albertans into opposing tribes. We cannot become the very thing we are saying we are fighting against. A real grassroots movement must be bigger than anger. It must be bigger than algorithms. It must be bigger than outrage. It must be rooted in human dignity. Because the truth is this: most Albertans want the same core things, not identical lives, not identical beliefs, but similar hopes. We all want security for our families. We all want affordable lives. We want meaningful work. We want our children to have opportunity. We want honest government and transparency. We want freedom paired with responsibility. We want communities where people help each other instead of fear each other. We want healthcare that works, education that prepares children for a life instead of ideology. We want laws applied fairly, and above all, we want a voice in the decisions that shape our future. These are not radical desires. These are human desires. And if we start here, and not with labels, not with ideology, but with shared human needs and experiences, something powerful can begin to happen. People stop becoming enemies. They start becoming neighbors again. And that matters because a successful movement cannot just be politically strong. It has to be socially strong. A movement divided into purity tests, internal feuds, and endless suspicion will collapse under its own weight. History proves this. Every major movement that succeeded learned how to unite imperfect people around shared principles. They were not in total agreement, they just had shared principles. That is the key. Because unity does not mean sameness. I had to steal that, sorry. There we go. It means agreeing on foundational values strong enough to hold different people together. And that is where the conversation about a constitution becomes important. A constitution is not just a legal document. At its best, a constitution is a shared promise. It says, "These are the freedoms we will protect. These are the powers government cannot abuse. These are the rights every person possesses simply because they are human. These are the responsibilities we owe one another. These are the rules that protect future generations from political swings and emotional moments." A healthy constitution is not written for one faction. It is written for the single mother in Calgary, the farmer near Red Deer, the oil worker in Fort McMurray, the small business owner in Medicine Hat, the Indigenous family seeking dignity and partnership, the immigrant family searching for opportunity and belonging. If we ever want to build a stronger Alberta, then the questions cannot simply be, what are we against? It must become, what are we building together? That is a much harder question, but it is also a much more mature one. Because anger can ignite a movement, but only vision can sustain it. So how do we create a cohesive movement? First, we stop treating disagreement as betrayal. No movement made of human beings will ever agree on everything, and that's okay. Healthy societies are not built on conformity. They're built on respectful debate inside shared boundaries. Second, we need to create spaces where people can speak honestly without fear of humiliation. People shut down when they believe one wrong phrase will make them an outcast. And that is more true than ever in today's generation and today's society. A movement that destroys its own people over imperfect wording will eventually destroy itself. Third, we need leadership rooted in humility. And I'll kind of stop there a bit just to kind of elaborate on that because, we all have to take personal responsibility in leadership. We're all leaders of our household, leaders in our community. We're all leaders, and we all have to start acting like we are if we really want this to happen. So, like I said, third, we need leadership rooted in humility, not ego, not celebrity, not endless infighting for control. Leadership should unite people, calm tensions, and remind everyone of the larger mission. Fourth, we must learn to listen to concerns we do not immediately understand. Sometimes people are just afraid. Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes they feel abandoned. And underneath that emotion is usually something deeply human. Fear of losing security, fear of losing identity, fear of losing community, fear of losing control over their own lives. If we only mock those fears, we deepen division. But if we acknowledge them honestly, we create connection. And finally, we need to define what kind of culture we want this movement to represent. Do we want bitterness or do we want courage? Do we want vengeance or do we want renewal? Do we want endless division or do we want a province where people can disagree politically while still recognizing each other's humanity? Because if Alberta is ever going to succeed in charting its own path, we will need more than policy. We will need social trust. We will need resilience, and we will need compassion. We will need a generation of people willing to put the future above their own pride. At the end of the day, movements fail when people become more committed to being right than being united. And they succeed when ordinary people like us decide that their common humanity matters more than their differences. So tonight, I want to leave you with this thought. Before we build a new political future, before we debate systems and structures, before we write laws and constitutions, we must first rebuild the ability to see each other as human beings worthy of dignity and respect, because a free society cannot survive without it. It begins when people choose to look past the labels and remember we are neighbors first, we are families first, we are Albertans first. Thank you guys all so much.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Ben Trudeau, like on the flags. And yes, I'm related, but only like 13 generations past. We meet in 1647 in Montreal. Our ancestors meet there. So, but yeah, I come from Montreal, born and raised there, and I was born in a very political family, not because of my family name, but because of the job of my dad, who was a speechwriter and a PR guy, very much involved in the referendum movement of 1980 in Quebec. One of my oldest memories is my dad holding my hand while talking to René Lévesque with all the flags at the Montreal Olympics before Lévesque became premier. My dad, after that, wrote 6 of the 12 white books that became the foundation of what Quebec is today. So white books are books that are filed at the legislature that give a long-term vision. So when there's a change of government, as long as they do not change the white books, this is the vision. This is what the future of what society wants to be. I joined the Young Liberals when I was 14. And liberals in Quebec are like the conservative. There's no conservative, so when you're a bit more on the right-leaning, you were liberal at the time, and provincially speaking. And then here came the Lac-Meech Accord that failed in 1990, followed by a new negotiation between Robert Bourassa and Mulroney that led to the Charlottetown Accord, for which all Canada was asked to vote on in 1992, which campaign was which was my first electoral campaign. I was 20 years old, my first referendum campaign, and I was in the no camp, not to endorse the Charlottetown Accord, which then led, when we joined the no camp in our party, all the Young Liberals, we voted no, and the premier at the time, Robert Bourassa, uses his veto, and we decided to all leave the party. So we're 2,000 youth that left the party all at once and created the no camp. And after that, we created a political party in 1994 named the ADQ, Action Démocratique du Québec. I was candidate at the first round in Brome-Missisquoi, which is in the Eastern Township. And my leader, Marie Dumont, was elected in his riding. We gathered 6.7% of all the votes at the September 1994 election when Parizeau was elected. And in Quebec, which is very unusual for Alberta and Alberta politics, when a party is elected, usually the party do what its member wants. And I say it's very unusual because Alberta has a different culture on that. No, often the party don't do what their members want, and that's because Alberta has been conservative for so long, and often without any opposition. There's a culture under that dome, like that's a dome syndrome in Edmonton. That's that culture under that dome syndrome that you have to rule for all Albertans. Well, this is not how our system works. Our system works to rule for a political party, which are basically private clubs. And you do what your private clubs tells you to do first when you have majority. And then after that, if there's some more for those who didn't vote for you, well, then you take care of them. So fast forward, we were pushed in the 1995 referendum campaign, and the PQ and the Bloc missed 6.7% to win. So that put us in the seat of power. We were all young. Our leader was 24. I was 22. We were about 10 volunteers, like in any organization. Very little participant, like gets the job done every day. And we end up sitting at the table, and we are the one that carved the question of the 1995 referendum, which question was not on separation, because I've never been a separatist. I'm still not a separatist. I will explain you why. So The question was, do you give the mandate to the Premier to negotiate a new deal with Ottawa? And if it fails, then we separate. That was the 1995 referendum. That referendum had a participation rate of 95%. There are some polls in Montreal where 100% of people went to vote. 100% of the voters went to vote. And we lost by 54,000 votes because the Liberals cheated, because they always cheat. That's what they do. So when we lost the referendum, what did Quebec did? Quebec said, okay, you know what? We'll gain sovereignty within Canada. And what they've done, they reframe, and they sit down, and they look at the Constitution of Canada, and they say, how can we piss off Ottawa with that document every day of our life? And that's what they've been doing since 1995. Aujourd'hui, Quebec has 38 embassies across the world. They're on the embassies. When you live in Quebec and you go to Paris, you don't go to the Canadian embassy, you go to the Quebec embassy in London, in Washington. Quebec deals all of their economic dealings across the world. Quebec has 2 representatives at the UN, not under Canada, under Quebec. Quebec, and all that is constitutional. Quebec controls its own immigration. Quebec takes its own tax since 1957, controls its own pension since 1965. As Zane said, the Quebec pension fund is 3 times more performant than the federal fund, the CPP. You know that Quebec owns more real estate in Alberta than the Alberta government. The Cross Island Mill, it's owned by the Pension Plan of Quebec. The outlets at the airport in Edmonton, owned by the Pension Plan of Quebec. Quebec owns about 10 million square feet of towers and offices in Alberta. So I'm here to tell you a story. And I decided to write a book about that story, about the real story of Canada, about the story of how, as a province, we have more rights than any US state. And we have the right to collect our own tax. We have the right to get Ottawa out and force Ottawa to give us all the money we pay to them. So Quebec, every year you file 2 tax reports, one for the province, one for the federal. But the government of Quebec look at the federal tax that is paid, and then there's about 600 bureaucrats. Their job, year long, is to cross the river in Ottawa and say, you know what, Ottawa, we pay you $1 billion for that service. I think we can do it for $750. Give us back $250. And that's their job. They make sure that they get 100% of every penny goes to Ottawa, goes back to Quebec. Now the equalization. I know this is a big subject here. First, we have to look at the population. The one that benefit the most of the equalization is Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI. They are the winners on equalization. They are the one that will never vote against it. Not Quebec. You know what? Quebecers don't even know that equalization exists. You have to know that 52% of the Quebec population today don't speak a word of English. They don't speak English. They don't read English. They don't know anything about English. So they are a bit like prisoner of their own society. They have their own language, but at the same time they have their own media, their own narrative. And in Quebec, nobody knows that. So why am I saying that? It's because I believe they can be our best ally to get out of there. Quebec will work with us anytime on separation and on pissing off Ottawa, because they don't care about equalization. They really don't care. You know what they've done in 1998? So after the referendum, we were thinking, how can we become sovereign within Canada with that constitution? We say, you know what? We're going to privatize all the thing that is calculated in the perequation, in French is péréquation. In equalization, we will privatize all these crown corporations to remove them for the equalization. So right now, Quebec receives $4 billion more than they should to start with, just because Hydro-Quebec is a private corporation. We can do the same. We can collect our own taxes. We can privatize our current corporation. We have one organization here in Alberta that collect all the royalties of our tax and oil. And us at Albertan, we're not even proud enough as Albertan to keep the money here. Every Friday afternoon, all royalties of the province are deposited at the CIBC in Toronto. Why isn't it deposited in ATB and the 13 credit unions that are under provincial regulations? In Quebec, there's one credit union named Desjardins. It's the largest cooperative in North America. 7.8 million out of the 9 million Quebecers have an account at Desjardins. So when Quebec deals for its finance, it stays there. When Quebec pays its insurance bill, it stays there. And this is the culture we need to develop here. This is what we need to do. And now, of course, when I listen to, my Alberta route don't run deep personally. I moved here I was under the first Harper government, and I was sent on a mission in Alberta, and finally I decided to move here. But I am an Albertan. I moved there as a bachelor. My wife is born and raised in Alberta, third generation. My youngest one is sitting there, Joel. We have 4 kids, all born and raised in Alberta. And I can tell you that I'm a fierce sovereignist. So my message here tonight is that whether anything happens on the 19th, the work is the same. We need to take control of our money. We need to take control of our immigration. We need to take control of our health entirely if we want to. All these are constitutional. All these are choice. We don't need a referendum to do that. We don't need anything. We need courage under that dome in Edmonton. We need a party that is willing to absolutely rule for Albertan. And the only thing we need to create all the structure that Quebec has is a raise a hand in the legislature. That's it. You know what? Quebec kicked out the Crown. Quebec, like in the same day that we had the Bill 1 when Dan Smith became premier, that first legislature, Bill 1 was a sovereign Alberta within United Canada. So she said to Ottawa, listen, like I can bark. Bill 2 was to add conditions on getting out of the CPP. So basically, what's the message she sent right off the bat? She said, you know what? I'll speak loudly, but keep the money. That's the message we sent to Ottawa. And now we need to revert that. We need to use that, what's happening now. We need to go out and vote boldly for separation. I'm not a separatist. It might sound crazy a bit what I'm saying, but you know what? Again, the result is the same. We need to start taking what is ours based under the Constitution because we are under the same rule as Quebec. And everything that Quebec does, we can do. And even more, if we start doing everything that Quebec does and that was start barking, well, we can just say, well, remove the right to Quebec to do the same and make sure that it will shut down. So that's my message today. And I believe that we need 2 things. We need a vision. My vision for Alberta, I wrote it in there. I see Alberta where we annex the Northwest Territory. And then we have access to Tide Rider and we bring our pipeline right up north to get all out. Nothing can intervene if we do that. I have a vision for Alberta where we start keeping our money here. Where we start, our day-to-day money. A vision of Alberta where we create our own insurance to stop sending all our car insurance. We pay the highest premium in the country. And all that money goes to Quebec City, goes to Vancouver. And we need to determine what is an Albertan. I consider myself an Albertan. I moved there at 35 years old. I will tell you what I believe is an Albertan. Here I developed 8 heartstrings of an Albertan. For me, an Albertan is somebody that has an enduring moral compass. Judeo-Christian values define our laws and identity. Number 2, we earned equality. We merit matters, not identity markers. Hands-off freedom, small government, stay in your lane. Pioneer grit, family-centered, self-reliant, property respecting. Real leaders, real results. Builders, not spenders. Conviction, not corruption. Wise land guardianship, sustainable use by those who live here. Move or die accountability, self-reliance, personal responsibility. And proud Canadian Albertan, honor the past, defend the future. This is what I believe is an Albertan. So thank you. I invite you to buy my book at the table there. Thank you very much. So now I guess it's Chris, huh? You have to announce Chris, or?
What do we do if we don't get the opportunity to vote?
we have the opportunity to vote. It's what happened. For sure, it's what happened.
So I second that. You should definitely buy his book. And no, he doesn't pay me a commission, but I will tell you that of all the books I've read on anything to do with sovereignty within this structure we call Canada, Ben's book has probably the broadest perspective on the matter from someone that's been closely involved in it for a lot longer than we've even been thinking about it. So, does anybody know what happened today? Well, we had pierogies, and that's what matters. Yeah. No, so today, as I've been kind of working on pierogies and watching what's going on here, I was on social media a little bit, and I've seen a few clips of things that come out of the Legislative Assembly, some stuff out of the committee that was deciding about the referendum question and the petitions and these things. And I'll tell you, it is an absolute gong show right now. Like, the internet is on fire. The NDP, actually, I think the NDP's hair is on fire, and it's actually heating up the internet. But it's pretty wild. And if you look, I saw a poll today, another one in a Red Deer Advocate, asking, do you agree that Alberta should become its own nation or something like that? And it was heavily favoring the yes vote. And, you know, we're seeing that all over the place. In the practical application of what people actually want to see for Alberta and for Albertans, we are seeing a very strong lean towards independence. That's no secret. And of course, it's going to be different in the cities. You know, downtown Edmonton, probably not going to see that. Downtown Calgary, probably not going to see that. But everywhere else, we're seeing that in one way or another. And now our legislature is like imploding talking about this question. And it really makes me wonder, if we live in a democracy and the whole idea is that people's voices matter, we listen to people, we ask people what they want, and then we do what the majority wants, why are people so emotional over this particular question? Do you agree that? Would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? I've never seen a movement where the whole purpose is to completely shut down the conversation, to prevent the conversation from being had in the first place. That's where we're at right now. And in that legislature, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I heard that something was said that shouldn't have been said yet. The committee hadn't voted on what they wanted to do, and there was some announcement. The formal announcement is supposed to be tomorrow. But at the end of the day, tomorrow, we're going to know what that answer is. We're going to know what the specific question is going to be. And there will be a referendum, one way or another. Now, here's the part you might not want to hear. The referendum that we're going to get might not be the one that we want. It might not. We might not get the question that people stood outside in the middle of winter, standing in the cold, getting people to sign the petition to compel the government for that specific question. That might not happen. There's a multitude of reasons why. I don't believe that it has much to do with the will of the politicians, because I think if the politicians right now could from the people, they would do it. Because the alternative is it makes them politically uneasy. Right? Because our governing party, the United Conservative Party, is the membership of that party is largely independence-minded Albertans. That is true. We've seen that over and over and over again. But the problem is, a lot of the people that we have put our faith in and elected to govern, to be legislators, to be MLAs, they don't agree with us. As a matter of fact, I think some of them actually hate us. We're making their lives a living hell right now because they're dealing with, you know, all of this pressure from the opponents. And the opponents aren't just in a different political party. They're within their own party as well. And I tell you this not to be discouraging, but I want you to understand that we might not get exactly what we want. Is that the end of the world? No, it's not. It's not. All of these things that are happening, everything we've gone through, well, I mean, in our entire lives, really, but I focus on the last kind of 6 years, everything we've gone through has brought us to this point. Every mistake that's been made has brought us to this point. Every success has brought us to this point. If any one of those things, some of the things which were unpleasant, hadn't have happened, we would not be here. If the government hadn't tried to crush me and I hadn't decided I was going to stand up, I would not be here. If they just stopped trying to, quote, get me because I was making them look bad, that's in the court transcripts, by the way, you can look that up. If they had just stopped, I wouldn't be here speaking to you tonight. If my restaurant hadn't been chained up and I lost all of that, that time of doing business in the middle of the summer, I would not be here. And I'm telling you this because I want to prepare you for news that might not be exactly what you want. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that it is absolutely the perfect thing to happen. And it's what we need. There is a plan. And the plan is bigger than any of us. We don't understand it. We can't comprehend it. But I guarantee you it is the best plan. There isn't a better plan. No politician knows better. No political party, no political activist, no overweight burger flipper standing on a soapbox talking to crowds of people knows better than the plan with a capital P. So no matter what news we get, we need to remember that all of these things, our wins and our losses, are bringing us to be. Maybe that place that we're supposed to be in October is a referendum that many of us would consider kind of a garbage, nothing burger question. I lovingly refer to that as the Lukasic question. Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? If we say yes, nothing happens. If we say no, nothing happens. It's almost a waste of time, except that our politicians right now and those around them, the dirty bureaucrats that love the status quo, that would love for things to stay the same, they know that 300,000 and change people wanted something different, wanted a different question, I should say. And they also know, they are acutely aware that number is not necessarily reflective of the number of people that want that outcome. Why? Because they are aware that in our political climate, in our time of cancel culture, some people are scared to do things like that. They don't want people to know that they're pushing back against the status quo because they're worried they'll freeze their bank accounts or put a chain on their business, or their neighbors will boycott them or something, or somebody will put out a cigarette on their face, right? People are scared. Our politicians know that what we did collectively over the last, 5 months to show that the will of Albertans was there, that there was, a political desire for this question on Alberta sovereignty, they know it's big. They see all these polls heavily favoring one side, which is the side that I would advocate for. They know. So this fall, if we happen to go into a referendum that has a question that we know is a nothing burger, I'll tell you right now, when we make sure that question is answered based on the facts, based on reality, based on the truth that Alberta independence, Alberta sovereignty is not only necessary, but it is inevitable, our government will be thinking a little bit differently. And no, that doesn't mean we're going to immediately, the next day, start negotiating with the federal government. You know what it does mean? It means that we start doing more work. Aren't you glad that we get to do more work? It means that we start to have more conversations, have some consultations that would have been nice to have before. Start thinking about some of the things that my friend Ben tells us again and again and again about what it means to be sovereign. We all want Alberta sovereignty, I'm sure, most of us in this room. And actually, I should ask. I always forget to ask. How many people are here for the first meeting of this sort? Like, how many people are new to this type of thing? Awesome. Now, I should have asked this before, and I hope that there's some people in this camp, but is there anybody here who's actually opposed to the idea of Alberta sovereignty? Okay. Yes, Max, thank you very much. Thank you. The reason I ask that is because what I've been seeing over the last 6 years is these rooms growing and growing and growing. And I don't mean just in numbers, but I mean in the number of people who are interested in this conversation. The number of people who are here instead of doing something at home that they really love to do, like, I don't know, for me, I love to mow my lawn. You know, I've been looking at the lawn the last few days thinking, man, can't I just take a vacation so I can mow the lawn and enjoy that? But instead we're here. We're talking about these things because it's important to us and because we know that the conversation's important. We know that it's not just important, but critical. Because if we're going to be asked a question like this, even if it's a nothing burger locastic question, and we might be surprised, who knows? The answer is so important for our future. Now, our future might not change immediately by January or next June, but we're certainly taking steps that we've never taken before. When in Alberta's history have we ever been given a choice regarding our position within Confederation? Does anybody know? The answer is never. The answer is never. We discovered oil here, 1902 or something like that. Ottawa went, whoa, look at all that money over there. Let's make a province. Legislated us into existence. We never got a say. This year is the first time that we have any type of input on our position within Confederation. And that is a very, very, very big deal, even if it's not exactly what we wanted. And even better than that, our politicians are literally not shaking, but quaking in their boots, because none of them have gone through this before. This is new ground for every single one of them, and they don't know how to handle it. Do you know why I'm happy about that? Because that means that this movement by the people is becoming bigger than the politicians can handle. And that's exactly what we need to do. The chaos that's going on in the legislature, the heads that are literally, not literally, that's a liberal thing to say, the heads that are figuratively popping on the other side of this conversation because they just can't stand the fact that we're about to participate in democracy is music to my ears, because it's different. Something is different. We're going down a different path, and that is really exciting. But it's also very motivating, because if we're charting a new course, if we're going somewhere we've never gone before, I saw a TV show like that once, that means we have to start talking about these things. We really do. We have to make sure that initiatives like this get to every corner, every town, every city, every municipality in Alberta, and we have conversations about it. Tonight, we took a little bit longer because we had some extra speakers, but we really do want to answer your questions, and we'll go a little later if we have to. But we have to start having these conversations. There's a lot of people like me and like you maybe who are excited about this. There's a lot of people who are terrified. These are our friends, our neighbors, our family. There's people that often are referred to as opponents or enemies, right? The other political stripe. They're not our enemies. Yes. Ma'am, please. They're not our enemies. Every person that's on the other side of this conversation, even the ones that are calling us, what's the new word they use? Yeah, that one. That's a pretty cool word. I like it. Even them, they're not our enemies. They're actually our allies. We just haven't done the work to bring them there yet. Those NDP voters who actually, they want the same things as we do, kinda, except for the real extreme ones. They just think there's a different path. This is for them too. They are not our enemies, even though we joke about their heads exploding and hair lighting on fire. They are our allies for the first time in Alberta's history being able to chart our own course forward. Even them, they can't influence the policies that the federal government passes down or passes on us. Even they stand to benefit from even the increase in the availability of their voices within democracy. That is for them too. They're our allies. Just neither of us know it yet. And maybe we don't want to admit it. Anyway, that's my message for tonight. No matter what happens, keep your eye on the prize. Where do we want to go? I want to go to prosperity. I want Alberta sovereignty. Independence to me is a tool to get those things. I want to go there. That's where I'm going. And I don't care what the government does around me. I'm just going to keep going there. I'm going to keep my eye on what I want, on the change I want to see, and I'm going to go in that direction. Or we get sidetracked from time to time, it doesn't matter. I'm going to look back there and go. And that's what we have to do, regardless of what the politicians do around us. So keep your chins up. What's that? What? Oh, I just heard a Facebook comment telling me to keep all my chins up. So thank you for that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break for, I say 5 minutes, I say 10 minutes. It doesn't matter because you guys are like herding goats, by the way. We're going to be about 10 minutes, take a break, grab a coffee. There's some coffee over there. Grab a water. We're going to come back for the Q&A, and we're going to rapid fire the Q&A. We're going to get through as many as we can because we took so much time speaking. So thank you very much. See you in 10 minutes.
All right, well, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm just going to switch into intermission mode. Thank you very much for the super chats. It's not super chat, but the e-transfer that I saw, $50 there. And okay, so I'm just gonna there and adjust the chairs, the cameras, and that sort of thing. I'll be back in a second. So there was a 2-minute warning. The Q&A session will start soon. And thank you very much for the e-transfers and the super chats and anything. Just keep in mind that DLC9 has affecting viewership a lot for a lot of YouTube channels on the independent strain. So if you can chip some e-transfers or super chats, that will be very, 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 very helpful, guys. Thanks a bunch.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take your seats, we'll get started, and I'll get the speakers headed up this way. In the meantime, I'm going to ask a couple of favors from you while the speakers are making this their way. The first things first is this is funded entirely by people like you. So I've got a couple gentlemen going around with the donation bins. If you're at all able to put a little bit in there, that is greatly appreciated. If you're not able to, understandable. But it's appreciated if you can. The second thing I'd like to ask you is the algorithms on social media are killing us. We get people telling us they get the poster 4 to 5 days after the event has actually occurred. So if you could go to Let's Talk Alberta, freedomcalendar.net, or the Let's Talk Alberta Facebook page, or the Whistle Stop page, you'll find the posters for upcoming events there. If you could download them, send them to people that you know in the area that they're in, and ask them to send them out to 2 or 3 people. That would be greatly appreciated. It's what I call the shampoo method. A lot of you will remember the Clairol commercial from the 70s and 80s. You tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. So if you could do that, that would be appreciated. The third thing is we've got a bunch of pierogies back there. Make sure you grab some. And if you can make a donation at that time when you grab them, great. If not, grab them anyways. We don't want to have to take pierogies home. And the final thing, on Tuesday night, May 26th, so 6 days from now, at the Lacombe Memorial Centre in Lacombe, Alberta, we are having a party. A nice relaxing evening of music and speaking. It won't be the same as our regular town halls. We've got 3 artists, including Mr. Ben Crane, going to be performing. And we've got a couple of speakers, but their messaging will be a little bit different that night. And you'll get a chance for chicken and ribs. So if you go to letstalkalberta.com and go down, click on the poster for the event on May 26th, you can go, it'll lead you through, and you can buy your tickets online for that. And so without further ado, they're all up here, so I will hand it over to them.
Thanks, Shane. So just so everyone's aware, notice I'm facing away from you guys. Just so everyone's aware, we're going to answer questions really quickly today because there's so many of us. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm supposed to be facing this way. Yeah. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. If you have a question online on either platform, please proceed your question with a bunch of question marks so we can easily identify them, and then we'll do our best to get to them. Yes, even your questions, John Armstrong.
Hello. I was going to ask you, what am I going to do with all this cash that I got stuffed under my mattress when we become an independent country? I guess I could spend it in Saskatchewan or BC, eh?
Well, in order for me to answer that question, I first need your address.
I'm from Quebec.
Oh, Shane, do you mind watching the questions on the live stream there for me? Yeah, I can do that. So, should we answer his question? I thought I did. Oh. So you asked what will happen to the Canadian dollars that you have stashed away in your mattress? Well, the same thing you're going to do with them tomorrow. Save them, keep them. Nothing's going to happen overnight. There won't be an immediate new Alberta currency. There is the possibility that we may also start dealing in the American currency, but nothing is going to dramatically change overnight. It'll be status quo initially. It's a long negotiation period, which will forthcome after we win the referendum. If I had cash, which I don't, I would convert it to metals and bury it in my backyard, personally.
Okay. So my question is, does anybody remember the political party that was being bandied about? It started out just, Rachel Notley was premier at the time, and nobody really liked the person in the Progressive Conservative Party that was going to be against her. So I guess the question I've got is that party, I believe it was the New Wild Rose Party or something, and it pretty much imploded on itself before it with infighting and whatnot. There was a MLA that had decided that he was going to take over part of it, and what are we going to do to keep that from happening with this? It's to get hijacked, and because I already see a little bit of infighting between somebody and Wrath already. What can we do to keep that from happening?
You can't. It's going to happen. You just have to pay attention, and you have to, separate the emotional things like that stuff from what is the goal. And that's why I say, no matter what happens around me, I'm going that way towards Alberta sovereignty. There's going to be there are people saying stuff about me. Like they're calling me down and saying I'm doing things which I'm not. And whatever, they can say those things. Maybe I'll deal with them. Maybe I won't. But I'm going that way. And with the political parties, that's always going to happen. As a matter of fact, if you're talking about Wild Rose, we still have Wild Rose. It's just absorbed within the UCP. And it's been a constant battle the entire time, right?
This one was a Wild Rose after that. This one
Yeah,
here
so
was-
you're talking about the Wild Rose Independence Party?
That one,
and
yeah.
it's this, yes. Independence-minded people are very independent. And they have a hard time getting past certain things. Back then, I was actually one of the people that said, hey, if we can get you guys all together and on the same page, pushing towards this goal of Alberta sovereignty, we can make some real headway here. And we just couldn't do it. There was little things, yeah, Vicky will tell you, there was little things that were in the way for each group, and they just couldn't get past them. They weren't aligned on things, and it never worked. But that was politics. This is different. This is what politics can't control. The people getting together in rooms, creating a movement that they can't ignore. That's why we're doing it this way.
And I'm just going to add to that. So being involved with, prior, I was with the Independence Party, not the Wild Rose Independence Party. And, you know, there was 2 or 3 years of meetings upon meetings of trying to get all the independence parties together and, you know, just, you know, too many egos, too many things in the way that no one side could get through, even though we all wanted the exact same thing. It was for me, especially that was when I was pretty new and just coming into politics. It was very frustrating. But like I said, over this last 2 years where I've been, you know, being more on the grassroots side, working and volunteering with APP and, you know, other advocacy groups, can't say that word. You know, I have noticed that we are far more powerful as a grassroots movement than we could ever be in a political engine. Now, saying that, it's not, we are at one point in time are eventually going to need political support to push this over the finish line. But for now, we have to take individual responsibility. And like Chris said, keep your eye on the target. If you start seeing infighting up here with leaders or whatever, ignore it. Just keep passing out pamphlets. Keep talking to your neighbors. Keep going to events. Keep inviting your friends, more importantly, that aren't sure yet. And just keep having the conversation in the best respectful way. Be the influencer in your community. That is the best way we're going to get this to the finish line, and then we're going to need some political clout to get us over that line. But for now, let's just keep growing this movement at this level, because that's where our power is right now.
Who's going to represent Alberta?
We're just gonna stay, and whoever has a question, please, we're gonna pass the microphone, okay? Because people online cannot hear what you just said, okay? Thank you.
Well, the question was who's going to represent Alberta. You want to answer, Shane?
No, I want a quick question for you.
Oh.
How do you turn the background microphone?
It's been on the whole time.
It's been on the whole time.
Oh boy. Go into media assets and scroll down to the bottom, and you can just click the pause button. Sorry.
Question.
So who's going to represent us? Whoever we choose. That doesn't change.
I vote for Ben Crane.
There we go. Yeah, it could be Ben Crane. I hope it's Ben Crane.
I got a
It'll be
question.
whoever we choose. Yeah.
I had a question about direction for advertising, for propaganda of our kind. Like tonight, this is my first meeting that I've been able to make it out to, and I know what this neighborhood voted. I expected it was going to be a lineup to get in here. I expected it was going to be standing room only. We just had a gut punch by a judge, and everybody's just. I've talked to lots of people, and they're like, why do we need to go to that meeting tonight? Like, there's nothing happening in the movement. That's the word out there. So what word can we make positive out there to, like, what have we got going for us for the future to get people excited again? Let's get it rolling.
Well, that wasn't a gut punch for me. That was just another thing cleared up that we have to do, and I'm excited about it. Like, this movement isn't stalled, it's not stopped, it's not squashed or anything like that. We've just identified one more hurdle that we need to overcome. We've identified one problem that we need to resolve. And it's not even a problem, it's actually an opportunity. What that judge said is that if Alberta wants to go down this path, they have to consult with First Nations. That's not a problem. That's actually a good thing. This is an excellent thing, an opportunity to actually get in a room with First Nations people and talk about why Alberta independence will benefit them more even than non-First Nations. This is probably the single greatest opportunity that the independence movement has had since we've started it. So no, it's not stopped. You know, people are busy, they're seeding, they're doing whatever. Some people are losing morale over this. Not me. I think this is the greatest thing that's could have happened. But we need you gotta.
We're going to take the microphone to you, ma'am, please.
Yeah.
We need a microphone, ma'am.
The question was, what type of advertising can we do besides these meetings? Like, what other things can we be doing? Because it seems like, and I agree, I think the momentum slowed down a little bit. And I was a canvasser. I saw it even during canvassing. Yeah. So the question is, what kind of advertising besides the meetings can we do to try and bring a different perception or a different type of, I don't know, a goal, or not goal, but
yeah,
different type of
I understand. Yeah, sorry. The advertising thing was followed with the saying that people aren't coming out because we're kind of slowed down or something, and that's more important to me. When you want to talk about advertising, that's exactly what Let's Talk Alberta wants to do. Like, we're developing a network and a structure where we can deploy and organize and deploy Alberta, I guess we call them Alberta patriots who want to make change. So what we're doing is we have initiatives like pop-up booths. We have teams that we're building across the province, across Alberta, that will be at a farmer's market or a Big Valley Jamboree or whatever, just to talk to people. We have a group of people that are putting a couple couches and a fire pit on a trailer and driving around and parking it and having conversations with people. Trifolds you saw there, we want to have community-led initiatives where people would print off something that we design in their community, go do a neighborhood mail out, put an ad in the paper, whatever. We understand that the advertising is important. However, advertising is incredibly expensive, like very expensive. I looked at what it would cost to send a trifold, mind you, to print and mail a trifold to all the houses in Alberta. It's $800,000. It is not cheap. So we want to advertise. We don't have a whole bunch of money. We need help to do it. And that's kind of where you folks come in.
Well, just for you to know, if you want to reach all Albertans, a campaign to reach all Albertans in 6-month period, it's $14 to $18 million. So that's why it's hard to do campaign without money.
I'd just like to say that judge with the gut punch, I think if anybody's paying attention, that just goes to show how one person from New Brunswick who was appointed by a Liberal government can stifle a Democratic voice.
That's a good point, Wade. And I do want to point out that when I talk about us advertising, we're not advertising referendum outcome. We're not advertising political party or politician. We're advertising having a conversation with people, getting people in a room and listening to what the concerns they have around the things that are going on in Alberta. That's what we are doing. That's what we want to advertise. It's all about talking to people and educating people as to the reality of where we're going.
This is a question for Ben, or if anyone wants to add on, that'll be great. I do spend a lot of time with you, and your book has a lot of information and answers, but what can Alberta do and Albertans do to have a better and greater outcome than Quebec?
There's a shift in the political culture in this province that needs to happen. We need to, I don't know how, and maybe that movement will give birth to these new breed of politicians that do and never ask for forgiveness, and do like Quebec, like act first, and if otherwise not happy, they can sue. You know what? In Quebec, there's a law protecting the French language, Bill 101, that was put in 1979. They are right now at the fifth time that the Supreme Court of Canada struck it down. And instead of saying, oh, no, the Supreme Court said that, know what Quebecer does? They change a couple of sentences, and they put it back on, and then sue us again. We're at 50 years around the Supreme Court, 4 times been put down. Right now, it's still in court. 50 years that law has been on. So this is the type of attitude we need to have to Ottawa. We are the boss, not them.
Just before you get that next, while you're walking over with the microphone, just to talk again about finances, because I cannot overemphasize how important this is. In BC a few years ago, a gentleman named Chip Wilson, he started, I think it was called the Pacific Prosperity thing, not associated with APP or anything. He was a business owner over there, and he was sick and tired, what was happening with the unions and just the NDP and liberal influence in governments and how it was stifling business. And he started it, and his first donation to that was $340,000. And he put out a challenge to all other business owners to match it or beat it. And now I don't know what else happened there, but what I'm saying, Chip Wilson's guy had started Lululemon. We need a Chip Wilson here too. But we can also start in our own home. So there were 301,000 people that signed the referendum, or the petition, pardon me. If every one of us could put in, I know this is big money, it seems like $50 or $100. Like, we're talking millions now. And $100 right now, I know how tight it is. Like, I'm driving a jalopy out there every day. It's a little prayer to get down the road with it. I understand what $100 is. But imagine if we don't spend that $100, we don't get this opportunity again. It's as simple as that. And we're up against a dynamo here because the unions are against us and they take union dues, the teachers' unions, that's what we're fighting. But if you, in this community, if there are wealthy people in here. There are the Bunches, there are the Padernis, there's a whole bunch of people. If you have relationships, if you could start polite conversations and see if we could get our Chip Wilsons, that's what we need. We need the big business, but if we can't do that, let's start at home and let's see what we can do, because $100 spent now could literally save our children and grandchildren hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars just in the next 10 years.
And just remember, too, that I just want full disclosure. We, in this group, are not making a cent. We're not doing this. We're not being paid to do it.
What?
I know. You might as well go now, eh?
We tried to get our gas money covered.
Yeah,
just to be honest.
To get our gas money covered is the only thing, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do want you to know that we are nobody is being paid to put this on, and I don't mean that as a brag. I want to just put your heart at ease that this is not the big bucks standing here pretending to be paupers.
Don't forget the
so
super
just
chats
put that in
and
your
the
pipe and
transfer,
smoke
guys.
on it. Don't inhale unless you're going for office, yeah.
So I was listening to Corey Morgan last night, and there was a pretty good conversation. I'd like your comments on this. Sorry. They were talking about, let's not get a vote for a referendum on October 19th. Let's let Daniel Smith put her 9 questions forward, and then the people of Alberta can see where we go nowhere with that, and then let's have our referendum question 6 months down the road. Or put Tommy Lukaszik's question on the referendum now, and the other 9 questions, and see where we go 6 months down the road. And another thing, I'll make a comment before you answer that. I agree, like there's some people on Facebook who are bashing Jeff. Him and I don't see eye to eye. I don't get on Facebook and bash him. Chris and I don't see eye to eye. I don't care if people think they're spraying the skies with stuff up there in airplanes, or you're not spraying the skies, or the earth is flat or it's not flat. All I care about is let's go forward for independence. All of that other crap has to be set aside for the next 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and so your comment about let's do this or whatever with the referendum, that ball is in motion. It's going to be what it's going to be, and we're going to find out very likely tomorrow, and we just gotta go. So we're ready for whatever.
So I'm going to answer the last question and this question kind of in what I'm going to say here. So we were talking about advertising, stuff like that, and you know how $100, $20 can go a long way. We already do have lots of communities out there organizing even on their own as they're waiting for other groups to kind of, you know, come up with some other ideas. But right now we actually actively, at least in like Innisfail, I know Sylvan Lake, and some other towns are actively going and printing out, you know, whatever resources they can find online, whether it's through Let's Talk or APP, wherever. They're printing out their own resources. Some of the people are even making up their own posters with the information that's available to them, and they are going door to door and just putting it on people's doors and putting it in mailboxes. So there's nothing stopping from each and every one of you from, you know, using your own personal printer, printing something out. Is make, you know, obviously try to be authentic and truthful, and if you are going to make your own stuff, but just get out there and start talking, have barbecues, and you know, invite friends over that you don't even know for sure if they're on board or not. Just open up the conversation. But the best marketing plans always come out of like those whole MLM strategies. And the reason MLMs work and why people continue to do them is because they're built on personal relationships. You are the best advertisement for anything that you support. People work on trust. So the more trustful relationships you have, whether it's your kids, your neighbors, your coworkers, they know you, they trust you. So when you put something out, they may not agree with you right away, but at least they're going to hear you. Whether they're not going to hear me standing up here on a chair, because they're not going to even show up. So, so anyway, you guys are the best advertisement out there. And with what you said, Wayne, as far as what Corey Morgan said regarding the questions, yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm sure there's a plan from the government, whether we agree with it or not, or whether we like it or not. But everything that the government has done so far to date has led us to this moment. And it's the more uncomfortable that other people get, the more people are going to come on board, because we have to start looking for solutions. We already know what the problems are. So let's start looking at the solutions and working together to find those answers.
If nobody else has a question here, oh, there's some online.
No, I've got a neighbor who had said, if I donate $1,000, I'll challenge the rest of the farmers or the business people to throw that in. Now, if it comes to a few $1 million and the referendum gets turned down, what would happen? I mean, you can use that money now for advertising, whatever. What happens to that money when the answer is no on separation?
Well, from the perspective of Let's Talk Alberta, this isn't just about that. This is about all sorts of things that we should have always been talking about, right? We stopped getting together and having conversations about the things that made us a little bit uncomfortable, and it's got us to a bad spot, right? So referendum, no referendum, yes, no, whatever. I have a vision that Let's Talk Alberta continues and focuses on civic engagement, period. That's what we want to do. We want to get people in rooms, find out what their concerns are, and talk to them about those things. And when we do that, if we continue to do that, like for the rest of our lives, number one, it's kind of fun, right? It's nice to come out, have some pierogies, visit with some like-minded people, maybe poke fun at liberals a little bit, even though we love them too. But we also get to have conversations about things that are going to affect our future, our kids' future, and this is part of the becoming paying attention to what's going on in our nation, because our nation is going to affect us, right? We just keep doing it.
So to me, it's not a one and done. And even let's just be pessimistic and say that we don't get the majority in this. We still need to advocate for like possibly our own police force, our own pension plan, reformation within our educational system, within our healthcare system. There are so many things that will never get changed in this province unless we continue to do this. And if we do win this, it means we need to just do this more. This is just the birth of what we hope to grow into a new nation, new opportunity, new prosperity, and it is going to take time, effort, and money.
Democracy, the government works for the people. So what I'm thinking, and also happens in Switzerland, people go 3 to 4 times a year to answer or vote about questions. That would be a way better system, because then the government totally has to do what the people will.
I agree with you totally. The beauty of this, and we didn't get time to talk about it earlier, and this gives us a chance. We now have the template to look back at literally thousands of governmental systems that have worked, partially failed. We have templates all over that we can now glean the best of the best information from. And that isn't going to just be, although it's already started with some individuals who are already writing and drafting and creating proposals. But I was visiting with my friend Bob over there, and he was mentioning about it at one point in time, that they'd had a group that had met, and it might even have been in this hall or a similar hall, and they had people at round tables, and they go, okay, why don't you folks talk about the agriculture industry, what you want to see? Why don't you talk about the Constitution? These things will be ratified, and they will be created with input from rooms just like this. And so we can create those things. We can look, well, what did and doesn't work in Sweden and in Switzerland and Germany and in Brazil or the UK or the US? Because we sure know what isn't working here. We can take the best of the best, and we can work together to make that happen.
So we can only use the one mic.
Well, I just want to add that everything that we're talking here and everything that Zane brought, whether it's a separation or not, we can do it. So what we're building right now is a culture of grassroots participation. A premier has the right to do 18 referendum a year if she or he wants to. Our constitution enables that. So it's not a question of what do we want, and to raise among that movement, the politician that will have the courage to raise their hand under that dome to vote for bold things, and don't worry if they're not worry about being sued by Ottawa. If they do so, let them sue if they're not happy.
One other thing I'd like to add about that too is I'm just gonna go off of what Ben's talking about, is we really have to start changing our minds about the way we think about politics. It's not something way over here, it's in our daily lives, and we have to stop pretending like it's something that we can put our head in the sand and ignore and hope that it gets better and just show up at the polls. I mean, that's exactly why we're here today. So, I mean, just, dig deep, and get involved. Even if it's in your schools, if it's in your, whatever your passion is, whatever the things that are affecting you in your life, get involved. Don't sit back. And we really have to kind of stop settling for the best of the worst and start actually voting or advocating for the best of the best, because we all deserve it, and we all work hard for that.
Okay, I think there's a good percentage of the population that are basing their decisions on an emotional tie to old Canada. I don't think old Canada exists anymore. So how do we handle that?
Absolutely. I always call it the nostalgia vote for a Canada that's gone, that I loved, but will not be here again. So what I try to do, because you don't want to get people defensive, right? As soon as you get defensive, their back's up, they don't listen. So how I try to do it is I'll often, if it comes up and they go, oh, no, I go, well, okay, fair. Name for me one specific thing that Canada has done just for Alberta. Not all the provinces, not all the territories, not for Ottawa, just one unique, beneficial thing for Alberta. And I have yet to have ever heard of anybody come up with a plausible answer. They'll try something, they'll go, no, that national parks, that applies to all of Canada except Quebec, on and on and on. And then I'll say to them, but I can easily name for you 700 billion things that Alberta has done for the rest of Canada just through our transfer payments, that's built roads and airports and schools and infrastructure and fed politicians. Get people, just try to say one thing that's based in logic. You don't even have to pursue it. Don't put them on the spot, but just try to plant that seed to get them thinking. That would be my recommendation.
I've got a question for you. How do we convince people to run for these positions, such as municipal government, provincial government, federal government, that are worthy of our vote, instead of just what we have now is people that are certified by the Prime Minister, certified by the Premier, or Elections Alberta, which is a joke, get to say who can run and who can't. And then we get down to municipal elections where nobody wants to run because it's their neighbor. And they don't want to be shunned because they've made bad decisions, and they all do. So how do we find these people to actually run for these positions?
When you find those leaders, get behind them in big numbers. That's the only way, because I can tell you, big teams win those elections, right? It's money, it's time, and when you have to go out door knocking, if you don't have a team of 100 people, you're only going to hit maybe in a municipal election, you don't have to hit, I guess, as many doors, but still a provincial municipal election, you need a huge team behind you. So if you find that leader in your community that you want to see run, you don't have to be the one that runs, but you can be the one that encourages them, and you help them build that team, and you find them 100 volunteers, and you find them the donations they need, and get them. That's the only way you're going to get people in power. And you have to convince people, especially if it's something out of the norm. Let's say a new party, or in municipal elections, we're starting to get parties there now too. But people, especially in Canada, we vote by party, and we have to get out of that mindset and start looking for good people that have a backbone, regardless of party, and just find someone that matches your values, and be brave, and get 1,000 other people to agree with you and to support that person.
And I think going back to what this gentleman talked about, I think we need to re-evaluate how our entire political system is set up. Right now, to get into office, it is basically a popularity contest. It has nothing to do with qualifications. It's not a meritocracy. Or you do get, and not to put what you're down saying, you get, like in Calgary when I ran, for instance, there was a group called Calgary Futures. It was a third-party advertiser, a PAC. It was all union money. It was like $2 million in union money. And they picked and chose the mayor, Gondek, that got in. They funded her. They picked and chose 11 of the 14 wards, and they got 11 of them in out of the 11 they chose. And none of them were qualified. So we need to, we can start now with a clean slate of how we bring individuals in. And I'm just spitballing here because this is just my opinion. This is nothing, it's just food for thought. I think that, number one, we should pay our politicians a whole lot more. And that might be very controversial to some people. But you get what you pay for. And if you're going to have an MLA that's making $100,000 a year, and lives away from their family in an apartment for 8 months of the year, like, what are you really getting for staff? My hairdresser when I lived in Calgary made more than that a year. Now, I think that there should be a forensic audit of anybody who takes office the day they start, and a forensic audit when they leave office. And that there should be severe penalties if there's anything like we see happening all the time. But I also think that if you're going to get good people to fill a role, they should be held to, you know, like employee reviews, basically. Here's what we expect you to achieve. You know, the GDP is going to grow, or this is going to grow, or we're going to do this. And if you don't get it, well, you get in trouble. If you get it, you get your raise. I think that there's a lot of ways that we like Vicky said, you know, we've just been thinking about this one way. We've just been thinking about it one way. This is our opportunity to actually create a government that is going to work towards the prosperity of this entire province. And we need to get rid of bureaucracy. When Rachel Notley got in, she hired 52,000 new members of government. And when Jason Kenney got in and Daniel Smith got in, they didn't lay one of them off. Now, those individuals all get their wage, they get their pension. I don't get that. Not many people here probably do. The most secure job you can possibly do in Canada, and 25% of the population does it, is be in government. And that's onerous. You can't get anything moving, you can't get anything done, and you can't afford the bill.
Freedom first.
I just have to add something here. It is, a lot of politicians and bureaucrats will tell you that we can't survive unless we have this level of government and bureaucracy. Ben, do you know anything about that?
Well, in fact, one of the more efficient government has been in our history in Canada was a Liberal government in 1993. Jean Chrétien came in with Paul Martin from 1993 because the Quebec was screaming independence. They laid off 250,000 federal workers in 2 years, and I mean, the world's still turning, you know, and even here now. Anyway, so I believe that there's room right now here in Alberta. I've crunched down the number. We could get rid tomorrow of 20,000 bureaucrats in our system tomorrow morning, and you wouldn't see anything change at the first line people. So when I look at NDP budget being filed, like the last one we got filed at 9.4 billion deficit, and now they will be a superstar because the royalties are just like double since because of what happened down there. So they will of course take the credit for that. This is unacceptable for a conservative government. So anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I believe that there is room, and the only way to cut in a bureaucracy is to cut. The only way is to do what Ralph Klein did when he came in '93. The only way, everybody was telling him, don't do that, they won't be reelected. He got a higher majority as his reelection because he slashed in the bureaucracy. And the way they were doing it, they were showing up at the deputy minister's office and they were saying, you know what, you need to cut 20% of your labor. Next Friday we're coming back, tell us who you fire. You would come back next Friday. If they didn't have a solution, well, then they would fire the deputy minister himself, put his assistant deputy minister, okay, you sit in that chair, we're coming back next week. And this is how Ralph Klein cut in all ministries. Week after week, they changed, I don't remember which one, but there's one ministry, they changed 3 deputy ministers in 3 weeks. Because, and then finally at the time they had all the employees like print on these perforated paper. So they said, well, you don't want to choose, print all the list of your employees, and they took a ruler and they count from A to Z, fire these ones. And said, well, you cannot do that? No? Well, then tell me who to get rid of. So anyway, all that to say that there is room to play. And whatever, and without changing first, the service that we receive. Anyway, and even, I will stop there.
Okay, we're going to have one more question, and we're going to go to the questions that are online. So here you go.
Okay, so this isn't really a question, more of a comment. I think that from what I'm hearing tonight, we need a lot more people to show courage in their conviction and to be able to keep going forward and show your kids that you have the courage to go in your direction. And I'd really like to thank you guys up front for showing the courage and showing us what it means too.
Thank you.
Just on that thing, my dad has been dragging me in political meetings since I'm 4. I've been dragging my kids, my youngest one, to political meetings since he's 4. That kid has been to more TBA meetings than probably most adults that I know. So anyway, just a little.
I'm going to ask some questions that were online here now, if you don't mind. Someone asks, where can we find the trailer with couches and fire pits that we talked about earlier? Where can we find them?
Well, hopefully the most Albertan man in the world will be rolling around with that behind his vehicle very soon.
I'm pretty sure that we will be posting it online for sure. A lot of questions in regards to money. Everybody wants to know where the money is going. So who do you give the money to? Does it go to APP or does it go to another association? What do you use the money for?
Well, sometimes we buy shirts that say, oh, wait a minute, no, I paid for this shirt. So we pay for venues, we pay the transportation fees for the speakers, we pay for pierogies, we pay for print materials, we pay for materials to print things. What else do we pay for? Anything we need to pay for to do this initiative. The events themselves, they cost roughly between $2,000 and $4,000 each, depending where we're going. Some of these events have gone as high as $6,000 just to get 100 people in a room. So that's where the money goes.
And likewise, even watching it online as you are right here, that actually costs money. There's equipment here. I'm looking at a laptop. I'm looking at a tripod. I'm looking at a camera. I'm looking at Wi-Fi, et cetera,
yeah, and I bought all that.
Max is over here as well, and he's doing his own thing. So I might as well jump to the second part of the question because someone says, problem, this stream only has 35 people watching. Meanwhile, the Fringe Clown has 1,135 at the very same time. LiveStream is a whole new industry in Alberta. So I'm just going to answer that. We actually have right now 258, but I saw it about 320. That is upon multiple streams. So if you're only seeing 35, that's because you're only watching it on one stream. Maybe you're watching it on the Whistle Stop Facebook page. Maybe you're watching it on X. That 300 number, as an example, gets divided amongst different groups. Max's probably has, how many do you have, Max?
Currently, I have 75 people.
So 75 people right there, but
on all the platforms. So basically, I have, if we want to look at each platforms, I have probably 50 on YouTube, about 20 on Facebook. So, and also one thing particular about social media. Can I add a comment onto this?
Yes.
Okay. Social media, as Shane was explaining, is what's absolutely killing us off. Ever since, even after Bill C-9 has passed the House of Commons, I can tell you from the viewership perspective, my viewership actually tanked about 75%. Facebook, 85%. So that means that from a revenue perspective, I basically lost 75% on YouTube. I lost 80% on Facebook, okay? And that is because of Bill C-9 and all those regulations, and also because we have other people doing streams at the same time as we're doing as right now. So whoever's watching online, even Freedom Candor or even the Whistle Stops and his stream, share the crap out of this video to as many people as you can. It is literally a matter of survival, basically. Thank you.
You know, the other thing I did want to add too is this is live. What Chris does, what everybody else in this movement does, is they repackage a bunch of this stuff. So this one live stream, which may only be seen by, let's say, 500 people live, may end up being seen by tens of thousands of people.
True.
Once we clip off all the good stuff, Chris won't be in any of those. But when we do it down to 30 seconds or so, for each one of those, we go out to TikTok, on Facebook and YouTube, Rumble, et cetera, we do have quite a group of people that follow us, as well does Max.
Yeah, and there's another part too. Like some of these YouTubers and podcasters, that's their whole job. Like they have a consistent content that they put out at a specific time on specific days. They spend, like when Derek puts out a YouTube video, it's not just like the 2 hours or 1 hour you see. He's got hours and hours and hours of prep and editing to get those videos done. It's a job. It's like asking people, oh, well, Chris, how come there's only 258 people watching you when there's 1.1 million people watching Friends? Well, because that's entertainment. And not everyone's going to watch, like, you know, the parliamentary debate committee when Seinfeld's on. That's just the way it is. You guys remember Seinfeld? Yeah.
Yes. And in regards to that note, I was interviewed by another podcast called Nat and the Guy just about 2 weeks ago. I don't know what was going to happen with this. They asked me, they was asking me a question. Hey, Max, how does it take to do a stream? Yes, it's a 2-hour stream, but you need to consider that even for them, those guys are driving hours all across Alberta. So basically driving all the quests from, in this case, from Edmonton, putting all my equipment together, 2 hours of deployment, making the streams, making sure everything is up and running. He's doing his streams too. He's doing his own equipment. So when you see the 2-hour final product on a stream or an event like this, there's a lot of preparation going on that people don't necessarily understand. Even the pierogies right now, you know? I'm not a kitchen guy, although I can cook very well, you know? Is a lot of work. And Chris Scott he said many times, hey, I would rather work on my business than doing this. But we have to, right? So
I just want to interject one quick thing here to just expound a little bit more on some of the stuff that Max said. And by the way, I think we should really thank Max for always coming out here with this amazing sound video system. Thank you, Max. Right now, we didn't talk on this very much, but this should terrify everyone in this room. And this goes to further emphasize why I say if we don't show up in the numbers we need on October 19th, I think our ship has almost sailed. Because with Bill C8, C9, I think it's C11 and C22, they are absolutely restricting our ability to carry any of this. And it may be shut down. And to just expound about how serious that is, when I ran in the mayoral campaign, and this is back in 2021, so 5 years ago, before any of these bills were on the page, I had an amazing volunteer team, and they tracked all my social engagement. We had Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, and we were always in the top 2 of the mayoral candidates in Calgary. And it was usually between Gondik, Jeff Davidson, and myself. And in fact, I did a fireside with Danielle Smith on Facebook LiveStream, 81,000 views. 3 weeks before the election was called, well, the election date of October 18th, 2 to 3 weeks, for no explainable reason, and we had not contravened any community standards, Instagram, Facebook, Google ads dropped all my stuff. Cut me off. Done. And then also after the campaign, I had the 4 major reporters of the 4 major, I can't name names, contact me within a week, and every single one of them said, Zane, you had the best platform, you're the best spoken, but we were told we could not interview you, we couldn't carry your stories, and we couldn't invite you to debates. I'm telling you, folks, it's 100 times worse right now with these new bills. If we don't get out of Canada, we are in for a future that you cannot imagine. I have lots of friends come up from the States, and they cannot believe how all their media, all their news feeds are blocked once they get up here. It's terrifying.
Thanks for the super chat, by the way.
So here's another question, a series of questions, but basically I'll try and wrap it into one. If the vote ends in favoring staying in Canada, will people respect the result, or will we see claims of it was rigged and it's not true, et cetera, et cetera?
You got humans. They can always say that.
Where's Shane? Shane, can you just go out to my van? There's a purple case in there with a crystal ball. If you don't mind just grabbing that for me. Yeah, we don't know what people are going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep my eye on the prize and keep going, right? Of course, there's going to be people that say, either way, it doesn't matter what the result is. There's going to be people that are unhappy. There's going to be people that say it's rigged. None of that matters. What matters is eye on the prize, keep going.
Yeah, no, like this is not the final, this is a starting line. Whether the result, there's a lot of work to do in this province to gain our sovereignty. And it's the same as René Lévesque when they lost in 1980. His speech was "See you next time," and so we have to work on that. And after that, they work very, very hard to gain sovereignty. So much that today Quebec don't really need to be separation because they're so independent in all of their things that separation is a bit like a nuisance. Like they're way more comfy like that because then they receive money from us. So no, at the end of the day, this is the starting line. This is that like the start line, and this is why as well for raising money for that movement, it won't stop on October 19. Whether it's yes or no, we will still need money to keep on advocating, keep on doing that, to keep on bringing the future of Alberta forward. It's not like it's done and everybody go back home and you start watching TV to see what the politician will do because they will crap the show for sure. So we need to keep on active one way or the other.
I got to say, you know, the sarcastic jerk in me kind of says, like, it blows my mind that people are just, okay, I'm going to let the federal government tax me beyond belief. Tens of thousands of dollars. I have no idea where it's going. Chris starts an initiative and I donate $10 and now I'm entitled to know where every penny goes. Like, really. I said this before and I'll say it again. If there's anybody out there that's considering donating to this initiative and they're concerned that I am untrustworthy to be a steward of that donation, do not make the donation. The people that support what we're doing, that support what I'm doing, they know that we are going to do the right thing and steward the finances they send us correctly. If you don't believe that, don't donate.
Oh, we got a question over there?
Okay. Where's Wade?
I'm going to run over there.
Yeah, he's coming.
I just wanted to say thanks to the people that actually recognized my voice online and said hello to me, and thank you so much for doing that.
Hey, Chris.
That's Terry with a K.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So we have our eye on the prize, and we keep going and continue to do what we want to do here. But in the interim, we get knocked down, and the feds come in and say, okay, pass all these bills, and we're stuck. So how do we keep going forward then when we can't gather anymore or get together? Like, I'm scared.
Well, that's a great question. Now here's a history lesson. More times than not during history, people weren't allowed to do this. Like, we're living in, this is a rarity what we're experiencing. There's been times where people could not, they could not assemble for political purpose like this. Artur Pawlowski, talking about his time in Poland when he was young and his wife and, you know, being part of the Solidarity movement and children smuggling literature in their backpacks to get people on board with getting out from behind the Iron Curtain. That's normal. This isn't normal. So, you know, I'm grateful for the blessing of being able to do this. I want to make sure that our rights and freedoms and liberties are protected in ways that they never have been in Canada. So that's why I'm pursuing this. If things get worse, I just need to remind you that for all of human history, families have prospered and been close and done things under terrible situations. They've had good times. They've made friends. They've fallen in love. They've had babies, all of these things while the boot of oppression was upon them. You know, so we have a blessing that we're not living like that, but things aren't over if they get worse. It's just different. And actually, we went through worse in 2020 to 2023. Our rights, freedoms, and liberties were infringed upon in ways we couldn't have imagined. And some of the things that happened were absolutely horrible. Some of the stories that I heard were heartbreaking. But on the other hand, there's some times that we had back then that made us better people. And they were fun, and we made friendships, valuable friendships that will last a lifetime because of it. So that's my encouragement. Things are we're blessed to be where we are right now. Things might get better, they might get worse, and then it's what we make of it, how it turns out for us.
So I don't have a question. I just have a kind of a statement. I grew up in southern Alberta. My brother, he's my baby brother. He and the neighbors have decided that they are going to get a reefer and they are going to pay for their own banners on either side. It's on Highway 36. That gets a busy corner. They're doing it themselves. They are putting stuff in the newspaper, in the Brooks Bulletin, every week. They're just picking facts out and they're paying for it themselves. We have to start doing that. We have to put on our bravery. If you live near a major highway, if you live on the number 2, on the 2A, on the 11 or whatever, and you've got land or your neighbor has land, and you say, we need to put a banner on your fence. We need to put up 15 Alberta flags on the fence line. Do it. As we travel this province and we see people with Alberta flags, I do this, oh, they're my people. I could go in there and ask them for something. They're my people. I see ones with Canadian flags now and go, I don't know about them. Sure. So I live on the dead end of a road. But I'm going to put up a flag on my corner. I got enough neighbors that come by. The trouble is, all of them are on the same page, so I'm not really influencing them. Maybe I'm encouraging them. So encourage your neighbors or your people driving down the highway. If you have access on a gravel road, it doesn't matter. Put up an Alberta flag. It hardly costs you anything. Get with your neighbors. Get a reefer. Check with your municipality, because sometimes there's rules about that. And spend the money. If you want to know what to do, get a hold of us, and we'll tell you. As an individual, you can put more on than we can as a foundation or a society. So do it. When I think about my great-grandmother, she moved from England, from a house with servants, to a granary in Hazard. Like, really, could it get much worse? She probably never cooked. Put on your great-grandparents and your grandparents' bravery as they came from wherever. And when they came from Europe, this girl here could tell you some stories too. Do it. Don't be afraid. We have to get rid of that spirit of fear. Because, our neighbor might think something, or I might do that. So take encouragement. I'm going to put some stuff up on my fence, even though my son-in-law might go, oh, Mom. He's on our page, but he just doesn't want me to embarrass him. So don't be afraid of embarrassing your children, us grandmas and grandpas. Do it. That was my statement. I didn't have a question.
I have one question. This is for Chris. Who cut your hair?
What are you, a cop?
What do you call it? Undercover. See?
I think we're kind of getting near the end, but it's not my routine.
Everybody that was in the kitchen.
Yes. There's just two things I always like to mention. Gandhi, if anybody remembers who Gandhi was. Gandhi, he, whether you agreed with him or not, he stood up for a cause. And he got the British to leave India. And he said this about that situation. He goes, if you truly, truly believe in something, 4 things are going to happen. Number 1, your opposition is going to ignore you. Number 2, then they're going to start mocking you, ridiculing you, and belittling you. And then they're going to attack you verbally and physically. And we saw like 90 incidents with canvassers, right? Where they were confronted, assaulted. And he goes, and it's up to you to make the 4th happen. If you just keep fighting, you will win. And there are 2 things we talk so much about, when we win this referendum, there's all the things that go through the Senate, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be... There are only, in our modern world, and to reemphasize what Chris said about we live in unique times where many people couldn't do what we're doing right now, there are only 2 things that it takes for us to declare ourselves as an independent state or an independent nation. Number one, and this is why it's so important we get everybody out on October 19th, a majority vote. And 2 weeks ago in Parliament, they agreed that 50% plus one vote was a clear majority. That's amazing for us, because they could have tried to move those goalposts to 60, 70%. They stated on the record and agreed 50% plus one vote defines a clear majority. And the second thing we need is the acknowledgement of two recognized nations. And we already have that with Japan, the US, and Israel. So that's all it really takes at the end of the day. The will of the people.
Okay, for the one lady there that was afraid of what might happen, think back when we had the COVID restrictions, and in West Central Alberta, you were allowed 2 people to visit. There were meetings of 400, 500, 600 people that weren't afraid of anything, and nothing was done about it.
Well, look too to the underground church in China with the communist regime. They were bombing churches. They were coming in with guns and shooting people that was in church. And they say it all went underground. The church went underground, and just massive growth. They found a way, and yeah, there hope. Hope has to. I want to leave you folks with hope tonight that this is not. We're not dead. We're not done. And if we can keep you grinning, bigger than you was when you went in, and not just because you have gas, but grinning better than you were when you came in. Remember, there is hope. We are not done yet.
And on that note, we're going to close in prayer.
Thank you, Lord, for the privilege we have to live in this province. Thank you for the liberty and freedom we have to gather, to invoke your name. And may we walk in peace and give us freedom in doing what you want us to do, and knowing that you are the final decision is yours, Lord. And may you give strength and protection over all those who want their voice heard. And thank you for that gathering. And in the name of Jesus, I pray everybody in their return home. Amen.
There's still some pierogies left.
There's still some pierogies left.
There's still some pierogies left. Okay. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Have a good one.
Say goodnight, Max.
Good night. Do